Hello, good evening and welcome to Primetime News. I'm Nadim Majid.
And I'm Majithia. Let's take a look at the headlines.
Minister Telecom resigns over avant-garde incident.
අපිට ඕනේ වග කියන අමාත්‍යවරු. අපිට ඕනේ වගවීම accountability සෑම තලයකම ක්‍රියාත්මක කරන්න.
එහෙමනම් ඔහු ඒ තනතුරෙන් ඉල්ලා අස්වෙනවා වගේම ඔහු පාර්ලිමේන්තුවෙනුත් ඉල්ලා අස්විය යුතුයි.
පින තිලක්මාරපන අමාත්‍යවරයාට පමණක් නෙවෙයි අධිකරණ අමාත්‍යවරයාටත් ඒ චෝදනාව එලෙසම තිබෙනවා.
Mortal remains of the most venerable Madhuluwave Sovath taken to the Naga Viharya. Aung San Suu Kyi's opposition NLD leading in Myanmar polls.
First up in local news, Minister of Law and Order and Prison Reforms Tilak Marapana announced his resignation today. Speaking at a media briefing convened at his residence in Nugegoda, the minister explained the reasons for his decision.
මා avant-garde වෙනුවෙන් නීති උපදෙස් දුන්නේ මම ඇමති පදවිය බාර ගැනීමට ප්‍රථමයෙන්.
I provided legal consultation for avant-garde before I accepted the ministerial position. I have never interfered with this investigation. Some people in our party say that investigations into this armory must continue. There are doubts among some people as to whether my position as the minister in charge of the police will hamper the investigation. Because of this doubt, I believe that it is appropriate for me to resign my position as minister in order for investigations to continue. I made this decision last night. I met with the Prime Minister and informed him of this and addressed a letter to the President early this morning. There is no stain on my mind. There is no blood on my hands and my mind has not been distorted.
කිසිම කහටක් නැහැ. මගේ අතේ ලී නැහැ. මගේ මොලේ විකෘති වෙලත් නැහැ.
Are you resigning as minister because you wish to continue to represent avant-garde?
No, I have no such hopes.
As soon as the government was appointed, a major show was held, claiming this was illegal. Hasn't your government misled the people?
No, I will not say that we lied. There was mistrust at the time because this was being done without anyone being aware of it.
Was this an independent decision or were you forced into it?
නෑ මගේ ස්වාධීන මත.
It was my independent decision. I do not wish to place my party or our government in a difficult position.
පත් කරන්න.
If you're offered a separate ministerial position, will you accept?
වෙන ඇමති
Even if I take up another ministry, the doubt of interference will continue to exist. I believe that it is good for our party and our government if I stand aside at this moment.
හොඳයි කියලා හිතනවා.
How appropriate or ethical was it for you to refer to them as my client when speaking as a minister in parliament?
මගේ සේවාදායකයෙක්
I refer to him as my client because I had access to all the documentation since I represented him.
මේ ඔක්කොම මේ ලියවිලි මට දැක ගැනීමට අවස්ථාවක් ලැබුණා.
Did the former defense secretary have any sort of conversation with you regarding this incident?
කිසිදාක නැහැ.
Never. I did not even know of him. I had not even seen the defense secretary.
At a recent media briefing, Minister Vijaydasu Rajapaksa claimed that a prominent company was behind the avant-garde incident and was trying to create a problematic situation. What do you have to say?
මම දන්නේ නැහැ.
I am not aware about this. I had limited dealings with the avant-garde.
මහත්මයාත් එක්ක තිබුණේ ඉතාමත්ම සීමිත ගණදෙනුවක්.
Views were expressed on various platforms today over the resignation of Tilak Marapana.
ගරු තිලක්මාරපන මැතිතුමා After taking into consideration some of the facts which cropped up in society and in Parliament, Honourable Tilak Marapana gave his letter of resignation to the President as a sensible, respectable and responsible politician. This goes to show that this government is a healthy government. We need responsible ministers to implement accountability at every level. accountability සෑම තලයකම ක්‍රියාත්මක කරන්න.
මාරපන ඇමතිවරයා ඉල්ලා අස්වෙනකොට
Now that Tilak Marapana has resigned from his ministerial position, should he remain in Parliament? Is he an MP who got elected to Parliament through the people's mandate? If so, as he has resigned from his ministerial position, he should also resign from his position as a parliamentarian. He should be sacked. I don't think anyone intends to resign. But if you speak about today's incident, in time to come, when the public starts raising questions over this matter, he will have to resign from the Parliament.
හැමෝන්ට මේ පාර්ලිමේන්තුවෙන් ඉල්ලා අස්වීමට සිද්ධ වෙනවා.
avant-garde ගනුදෙනු ආරක්ෂා කිරීම සඳහා පෙනී සිටි
It was not only Tilak Marapana who appeared for Avantgarde to protect its transactions. The fact that Tilak Marapana resigned doesn't resolve the Avantgarde issue. So we are of the stance that a special investigation be held expeditiously on Avantgarde. The case is being heard by the Minister of Justice, and he is saying that nothing has happened here. So it is evident that the ministry overlooking this investigation too has used ministers to clear these charges. It is not only Tilak Marapana who has this allegation against him. The Minister of Justice has the same allegation against him.
Meanwhile, a demonstration was staged in the Ambalangoda town today, demanding that those involved in the Avantgarde deal be punished.
This group and I, on behalf of the public, say to the government that we will not allow the Avantgarde issue to be swept under the carpet. Today they are working to protect certain individuals. This is how much they are hurting. If what I am saying is wrong, I challenge those protesting on my left and Vajirabe Wadana to join us for a televised public debate.
Another group of demonstrators who staged a protest parallel to the aforementioned protest expressed views in support of Minister Vajira Abewardena.
We are against these attempts to sling mud at our district leader Vajira Abewardena and to weaken the United National Party in the Galle district.
Meanwhile, former Navy Commander Admiral Jainath Kolombage appeared before the Presidential Commission of Inquiry into large-scale corruption and fraud today. He appeared before the commission to provide a statement over an investigation on Lanka and Avantgarde.
What they are asking for are the details which cropped up in the investigations conducted so far into the security provided against pirates by the Sri Lankan Navy to foreign vessels affiliated to Rakna Raksha Lanka Limited and Avantgarde Security Services Private Limited. They wanted to know the Navy's side of it. I cannot comment on that. This is something that is constantly spoken about in the country, so I will refrain from commenting on this matter. A special cabinet meeting was convened under the patronage of President Majithia Sirisena today to discuss matters surrounding Avantgarde.
The special cabinet meeting was held at the Presidential Secretariat this morning. The meeting went on for nearly 2 hours. The President announced the resignation of Minister Tilak Marapana. Thereafter, a nearly 2-hour discussion regarding Avantgarde took place in the cabinet. At the end, the President said that he himself will take the forefront to take full action over this matter. Thereby, he said that another special discussion will be held with the Prime Minister and all security and legal units concerned, as well as a few ministers who have shown concern over this matter as quickly as possible.
Meanwhile, President Majithia Sirisena has accepted the resignation of Tilak Marapana. The President's media unit announced today that Palitha Palpola has been appointed as the coordinating secretary of the Ministry of Defence. Palitha Palpola served as the President's personal secretary prior to being appointed in his current position. The President's media unit said that ANR Amarathunga has been appointed as the President's personal secretary.
The mortal remains of late most venerable Madhuluvave Sovath has been placed at the Kote Srinagar Viharya for public respects.
The mortal remains of most venerable Madhuluvave Sovath were brought to the Kote Srinagar Viharya this morning from a private funeral parlour in Colombo in a special motorcade. As per the traditions of the Sasana, the remains of the late Venerable Thero were placed in his chambers for over an hour. Thereafter, the remains were brought to the Dharmashala of the Kote Srinagar Viharya for public respects. Mahasangha as well as several other multi-religious leaders arrived at the Vihara to pay their last respects to the late Most Venerable Madhulave Sovath. The Venerable Thera built a strong bridge between religions. He rendered an exceptional service. He was a great Thera in terms of spreading the Sasana. He was also a great Thera in terms of speaking out for the people. The Venerable Thera has etched an unerasable mark in his journey and in terms of the pioneers who came before him. For me, he was known as a clergyman who led a selfless and harmonious life with the community and who worked dedicatedly in line with the teachings of Buddhism. Large groups including many political figures also arrived to pay their last respects.
He was someone who genuinely worked for the country courageously out of all the bhikkhus and laymen. He was not someone who asked for favours from the government as a member of the clergy. He never asked anything. However, at a time when the country was in danger, the Venerable Thera boldly stood by the nation.
Not only as a clergyman, the Venerable Thera led an exemplary life as a leader for the country. He also advised us. The death of the Venerable Thera has left a void.
The Venerable Thera used to always tell me, every president who obtained blessings from me forgot me after becoming president. That is because the Venerable Thera always spoke up in the midst of issues.
The only way that we can commemorate him is by building a Sri Lanka with good governance, free from fear and terror. Whenever the country was in danger, Sovath Thera took the fore to rescue the nation. Venerable Sovath Thera was not affiliated to any political party. He always stood on the side of the people and the country and worked to bring the country onto the correct path. Great souls which have accumulated much merit come from the divine realm to this realm. The Venerable Thera was sent here from the divine realm to ensure the well-being of all communities. Most Venerable Madhulave Sovath Thera will be laid to rest on Thursday, the 12th of this month, under full state honours at Parliament grounds in Sri Javadhanapura, until which his remains will lie at the Dharmashala of Kote Sri Nagavihara till 12 noon on that day. The 12th of this month has also been declared as a national day of mourning. The 12th of November has been declared a national day of mourning. It has also been decided that all cinemas, abattoirs and liquor stores in the Colombo district area will be closed on this day. Most Venerable Madhulave Sovath Thera, for ushering in a new era, for dedicating yourself to the people, may you attain Nibbana.
The Department of Meteorology is forecasting a decrease in the rainy weather conditions that are being experienced over the island as the deep depression in the Bay of Bengal gradually dissipates. However, residents in a number of areas around the island continue to be inconvenienced by the recently experienced downpours.
Several villages in Chilao, such as Maikulam, Milanpur and Apraswata, continue to be inundated. 4 sluice gates of the Thabbo reservoir in Putlam have been opened. The engineer in charge of the reservoir said that residents in the vicinity must exercise extreme caution. Sluice gates of the Vehirakala reservoir located in the Yala National Park had to be opened with the rising water levels. Our correspondent said that the sluice gates were opened by 2 feet each. One of the 4 sluice gates of the Upper Kotmale reservoir were opened owing to heavy downpours experienced in the central hills. According to our correspondent, water levels of the Castlereagh reservoir have exceeded spill level. Our correspondent added that the water in the Lakshapana reservoir has also reached spill level.
The low pressure system, which was to the southeast of Sri Lanka during the last few days, has now intensified into a deep depression and is centered about 200 kilometers to the northeast of Jaffna Peninsula. Weather over the northern, north central and eastern parts of the country will remain windy and showery, and especially rainfalls of the order of 100 millimeters or more is expected at several places in these regions. Or other parts of the country, thunder showers will develop.
A group of ministers conducted a session today to explain the government's midterm economic program.
What we're trying to do is to take forward the economic reforms that were introduced by President J.R. Jayawardena. We can only take forward our development activity by ensuring Sri Lanka is competitive in the global market. The Prime Minister has made a direct statement on this. We accept that we can achieve economic development through our export economy. You are aware that in the case of state institutions, especially the commercial institutions, we need to act to gain capital. This must be done through allocations from the budget, or if it is not possible to make capital allocations through the budget, then we will have to generate this capital from the people through other means. Bankrupt politicians have started saying that we are going to cover this capital deficit by selling these institutions to various people. For 20 to 30 years, we have heard these baseless lies. The Prime Minister stated in Parliament clearly that these would be properly managed and turned into profit-making institutions, and that the profit would go to the people. These are the new methods being utilized in the world. In the Prime Minister's statement, special mentions were made of skills development. Our ministry has had to take up a major responsibility in the task of generating 1 million jobs. There is no way that we can grant this many jobs in the public sector. We must embark on this journey with a program to create jobs in the private sector, or we will have to send a much large amount of skilled labour abroad to fulfill this goal.
The JVP, meanwhile, has criticised the government's proposed economic framework.
In the final days of Mahinda Rajapaksa's administration, casino tycoon James Packer was the main figure of investment. Now in his speech, Prime Minister Ranil Wickremesinghe has indicated that business magnate George Soros is one of many international acclaimed investors to be invited to invest in the country. Ranil Wickremesinghe is therefore attempting to rally the nation around his economic framework through black money. He is failing to take punitive measures against fraudsters and peddlers in a bid to collect the black money at a national level. Ranil's economic model is not a novel one.
මේ ආණ්ඩුව මධ්‍ය කාලීන ආර්ථික වැඩපිළිවෙලක ඉදිරිපත් කළ මේ ආර්ථික වැඩපිළිවෙල කිසිසේත් මලුත් එකක් නෙවෙයි.
Former Minister of Coconut Development Jagat Pushpakumara appeared before the Presidential Commission of Inquiry to investigate and inquire into serious acts of fraud, corruption and abuse of power, state resources and privileges today.
De Silva, the Commission Secretary, noted that Jagat Pushpakumara was summoned to provide a statement on alleged corruption and irregularities at the Coconut Development Board. As the Minister of Coconut Development, I distributed saplings free of charge across the country and provided transportation as much as possible. When petitions are filed, our officials examine it, so I provided a statement.
ඉඩංගික සම්බන්ධව කිසි ප්‍රශ්නයක් නැහැ. මම අහලා තියෙනවා නොමිලේ මටත් අරගෙන තියෙනවද කියලා මං කෝ ඒක නැහැ කියලා. පංචායතිය මේ වැලිකන්ද ප්‍රදේශයේ අක්කර 100ක ඉඩමක් ඔබතුමා මේ නෑ මං අරන් නැහැ ඉඩම. නෑ මගේ කිසිම ඉඩමක් වැලිකන්දේ මගේ නමට නැහැ. ඔබතුමාගේ මේ විදිහේ නමට තමයි කරගෙන මං දන්නේ නේ ඔබතුමාලා හොයලා පිළිතුර දෙන්න.
News in brief is up next.
2 colonels and a staff sergeant of the Sri Lanka Army who were arrested in connection with the disappearance of journalist Pradeep Ekneligoda were produced before the Homagama Magistrates Court today. The suspects who were produced before court following advice from the Attorney General were further remanded until the 23rd of November. Meanwhile, 2 former soldiers are still being held by the CID on detention orders. 37 suspects in the murder of karate champion Vasantha Soisa have been further remanded until the 23rd of this month. The suspects were produced before the acting magistrate of Anuradhapura, Amarasena Hettiarachchi. 3 suspects, including Velesuda's sister Dilinini Mini, who were arrested for having 232 grams of heroin in their possession, have been further remanded until the 23rd of this month. The trio were produced before the Maliga Kanda Magistrates Court today. The Suren Batagoda Committee, appointed to carry out investigations of the police attack on protesting HNDA students, met the Ministry of Power and Energy today. Batagoda, who is also the Secretary of the Ministry of Power and Energy, said that statements were obtained from the students and proposals were made to prevent recurrence of such incidents. He went on to note that the committee expects to present a report on this issue within 2 weeks.
And that wraps up our primetime news bulletin for today. I'm Jitendra Gunasena.
And I'm Nadim Majid. Good night and good luck.